Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Canadian Football Central, CFL content for the fans, by the fans. We have our review here of Week 5 of CFL action, so you guys don't want to miss that. We got a lot of good stuff. We got 4 interesting games that we're going to be talking about, so make sure you guys, before we get into it, leave a like, hit the subscribe button, maybe even turn on that little notification bell. Helps out the channel a ton. Now, this weekend, it'll be a little bit interesting. Rick, I'm going to leave this a little bit more with you. I'm going to give some 2 cents here and there. I'll read out a few stats. And then I'll give a bit of my 2 cents of the Bomber game. But I wasn't able to actually watch any of these games in full. I saw clips and bits from others. I'd watched the highlights for all these and whatnot. And then I was able to see, thankfully, at least, I think it was about half of the third quarter and all of the fourth quarter in the Ottawa-Winnipeg game. Because I was actually in Toronto this week. Me and Rick were actually very, very close geographically. But I was there seeing WWE Money in the Bank, Friday Night SmackDown, and NXT Heatwave. So 2 pay-per-views. So if you guys are a fan of wrestling, you guys can check out. There's a lot of stuff already posted on the Nolan Hockey Podcast. As well, I will be doing my video on that.
Breaking news on CFL Central.
Or Canadian Football Central, yes.
Oh, yeah. Calgary Stampeders have just signed Jamal Morrow.
Oh. And this is now while we're recording.
Right now, Justin Dunk just announced it just now.
I see. And then earlier today, the Lucky Whitehead was confirmed to have signed to the practice roster. Yeah.
While you were on your little venture,
Sean Oakman to Edmonton.
And Dedrick Moncrief went to Edmonton as well.
Yes. So all that sort of stuff. Anyway, so going back to where I was. If you guys are a fan of wrestling, I'll have a weekend recap video kind of coming out on the Nolan Hockey Podcast. Probably actually when this video goes up. So make sure you guys check that out. But we're here to talk about football. We're here to talk about, firstly, the Toronto Argonauts versus the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Saskatchewan Roughriders, obviously, without Trevor Harris, they still get it done. 30-23 victory on the Thursday night game for Saskatchewan over Toronto. I'm not going to lie. I cannot stress how big of a win this is for Saskatchewan. With Trevor Harris out, it seemed like that really could be enough to kind of tip the scales against Saskatchewan here. But Shea Patterson puts in a good performance. And that's a really good sign here for Saskatchewan, knowing that, could it last an entire season? No. But, with the status of Trevor Harris's injury seemingly being not crazy long, but it'll be a few games, it's important that Shea Patterson's able to get them wins. And especially against a team like Toronto. Toronto had actually played pretty decent with Cameron Dukes there, as Chad Kelly is still suspended. But it was a good performance by Saskatchewan altogether, and they were able to get it done. Shea Patterson would go 15 for 24 for his completions on attempts, 192 yards, 8 yards on average, and 1 touchdown. Nothing really that special, but it was one of those things where it just needed to be enough for him. Weren't throwing the ball a ton. AJ Ouellette, 18 rushes, only gets 67 yards. If you're AJ Ouellette, you definitely want to get more than that. But Patterson himself would get a rushing touchdown. He actually got 18 yards on just 4 carries, being able to do some good stuff with that. MLS would get himself a touchdown. They were kind of handing the ball around quite a bit on the receiving core in terms of to a whole bunch of different receivers. Only one of them, only MLS, only went over 50 yards. So maybe hoping for a little bit more there. Lothar would go for 3 on 4 field goal attempts, with his longest at 48 yards. Overall, it was one of those things where it looks to me like the defense for Saskatchewan won them this game. Would that be accurate there on that?
I mean, considering that, what the heck was it? Sayers? Is it Sayers? Hold on, let me pull up.
Sales? Are you talking
Sales? Yes.
Marcus Sales, yes. Who
had a pick 6.
Yes, he got pick 6. This was actually a portion of the game I was able to see. And it looked like Toronto was just shooting themselves in the foot with turnovers here, with a pick 6 for Marcus Sales, 2 picks for Milligan, 1 for Williams, and then a sack for Johnson and for Lanier, the second. But just really good defensive effort here for the Saskatchewan Roughriders. A team leading 8 tackles from Thurman, with followed by 5 from Lacombo as well as Williams. So definitely a good defensive effort here for Saskatchewan. And everything that I had saw had really indicated that that was kind of a bit of the game changer here in being able to get Saskatchewan the victory.
I mean, the only thing that... Oh, and the other thing is, if I'm not mistaken...
Oh, and no donuts this game. Everyone put up at least a few points every quarter.
I'm pretty sure this... I just want to make sure that I get my comment incorrectly. I'm pretty sure... Was this not the game that Grant had that kick return, or no?
It was. That was actually to start the game. That was in the first quarter. Janarian and Grant, 84 yards, would run that all the way down. That was on the, not kickoff, but punt return. And they would go for the 2-point conversion. They would fail. But yeah, no, this was the game with the punt return touchdown for Janarian Grant, which as a Bomber fan does not surprise me. He got that.
You know what? This was not the game because
you sure?
Kadeem Carey got the rushing touchdown.
Yep.
And that's the only touchdown that they got the whole game. The rest of them were all kicks. Oh, no, sorry. No, you're right, because...
Yeah, no, they got it in the first quarter, but they didn't get the conversion.
Then why does this show
So that's why they got 6 points in the first quarter. Because it was 6-3 Toronto after the end of the first quarter.
No, I get that, but I'm just trying to...
Because then Lothar then hits the 48 for Saskatchewan. So it's 6 points Toronto because they don't hit the conversion. Then 3 points Saskatchewan because Lothar hits the 48.
Oh yeah, that's right. Because that's why I couldn't find it. It's because they showed it on the Saskatchewan side, not the...
Oh, okay. So they just made a bit of a mistake there.
No, because they show the punt on the Saskatchewan side with Grant returning it.
Okay, because it was just a Saskatchewan punt.
So now the question is... So here's the big thing. Cameron Dukes goes 19 for 33.
Correct.
206 yards. 4 interceptions.
4 interceptions, no touchdowns.
Then you have Nick Arbuckle, who comes in and throws 4 for 6.
Not even that bad, honestly.
But then don't forget, Cameron Dukes had 6 carries. 47 yards.
Yep.
Outruns Cameron Dukes. Kadeem Carey.
On 11 rushes.
Coxey has 76 yards, and then Rashid Bailey only has 66.
66 on 7 receptions, that was.
Yeah.
A big thing to hear to see, like, in terms if we're looking here, so McManus will lead Toronto here with 8 tackles, 6 for Derek Parrish, as well as 6 for Sopik. Now, one key thing here: Pierce gets a sack, no turnovers here. Saskatchewan doing a very good job at not giving that ball up. Unfortunately, could not say the same for Toronto. Again, 4 picks against Cameron Dukes, with one of them being a pick 6. Marcus Sales bringing that back all the way into the end zone. And so, if you're Toronto, gotta put a bit more pressure with your defense and be able to force those picks, especially on a backup quarterback. You know, really getting that pressure on Shea Patterson and forcing a guy like that to make some mistakes is big. Just weren't able to do it. And if you're Cameron Dukes, you can't dwell on this game too long. You gotta just move on.
And the interesting thing is coming up.
Yep.
Which we will cover later on this week, is Toronto has gone 0-2 in their last 2 games.
Yep.
Do you know who they play next?
They play Montreal.
They play Montreal next.
That's going to be well, we'll get to that. We will talk all about that. Isn't that right, Rick? But we're going to go into the next game, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers are no longer winless in our Lord's year 2024. The Winnipeg Blue Bombers with a 25-16 victory with Chris Streveler, baby. 25-16
the sad thing about it is, Carter.
Yep.
It took your backup quarterback and your running back to do all the work and not do any passing.
I mean, to be fair, that's pretty much exactly what I was expecting. Now, it's funny. I would argue, though, that the biggest game changer is not Brady Oliveira. It's not Chris Streveler. That offensive line finally did something. Finally. They had been able to do some half-decent pass blocks here and there. I was defending them in the sense of saying that this is not a terrible O-line. They're not. This is a good O-line. However, they weren't playing the way they bloody needed to. And so I was on the firm train of, if this O-line gets going, this running game gets going, and this team gets going. And that's exactly what happened. And I was this is where, actually, if you guys check out Bombfire Sports with Darren Bombing and Chris Walby, excellent bomber coverage that they do on there. Me and Chris were saying the exact same thing. Me and Walby were just talking about how the running game has to get going for Winnipeg. And with Streveler playing, he's not going to be throwing for 200, 300 yards a game. He's not going to be throwing the 400. It's not happening with Chris Streveler. It's just not. If he could kind of tweak and get his throwing a little better and get a little more confident in it, it'd be nice. But he's a running quarterback, and he plays short yardage mostly. And so it was all the more important that this O-line performs. And so Brady Oliveira would lead this team in rushing and passing yards, and receiving yards here, as he would get 123 yards rushing on 23 rushes, average of 5.6. Finally broke the 100-yard mark on the rushing. Only took 23 carries, but is what it is. I'm happy he broke that threshold nonetheless. And he would get 37 yards receiving for, I believe, if we take a look here, that'd be a grand total of 166 all-purpose yards for Brady Oliveira. So definitely a breakout game for him. He desperately needed that. Now, if we want to talk about guys, it's funny. We've been talking about some inconsistencies with the Bombers. We want to talk about some consistencies, though. Holy Sergio Castillo. Oh my goodness. 6 for 6. He had 2 53-yard field goals and one, I believe, from 49. Yes, there we go. Yeah, so he's got one from 23, then he got one from 53, then one from that was 29, 29, then 53, then 13, then 53 again, then 49, and then 18 at the end of the game. Sergio Castillo was money this entire game. And all in all, I am very, very glad that Winnipeg gets the victory here. Now, one thing I do want to bring up before I give that over to you, Rick. I hope Drew Brown's okay.
I was just going to go there.
Because now, I really don't know how I feel about this play. I have watched that play over and over and over again. Rick, you sent me a great video. Thank you for that. It doesn't look good. It doesn't. I understand the frustration towards Cramdy here. Does Cramdy engage after Drew Brown has initiated the slide? Yes, he does engage on the hit after he initiates the slide. However, you could also make the argument, and you wouldn't exactly be wrong, that Drew Brown slides a little late here. And that even though he doesn't necessarily deserve to get hit like that, he's put himself in a little bit of a vulnerable position. And it's not exactly surprising the way it turned out. And I want to make sure this is clear. I hope Drew Brown's okay. I'm not playing the finger pointing game. I'm not doing that. That's not happening. I would never say he deserved it because he obviously doesn't. And for those who have watched my Bomber coverage, you'll know that I was very high on Drew Brown all of last year. It was the Drew Brown train, baby. I was a big fan of Drew Brown. So I hope he's okay. However, I don't think this is a Pete Robertson situation like in Saskatchewan. Also, one thing I will say, that I am happy about. I don't really see anyone condoning this hit. I don't see anyone saying, "Oh yeah, whatever, sucks to be Drew Brown, yada yada yada." Don't see any fans doing that. I don't see any players doing that. I don't see any coaches doing that. So, if he gets suspended, I wouldn't be shocked if he gets suspended. I'm just glad to see that there wasn't this outcry of support for him on such a questionable play.
I will say though that if anything's going to end up happening, it's going to be both parties. It's going to be Cramdy from
Winnipeg,
and then the Ottawa player that went after Strevler.
Yes. Again, to be fair, I'm not trying to, two wrongs don't make a right, but the exact same play happens to Strevler. It does. Now, Strevler doesn't get injured. However, I would argue you should punish the play, not whether the player was injured. In the sense, because the potential for injury is always there, and you want to keep the players safe. So the same play happens both ways. Unfortunately, Drew Brown gets injured. I hope nothing but the best for Drew Brown. I hope to see him back on the field soon. And yeah, I mean that's really all I can say on that. In that
all
regard.
I will say is, ever since Drew Brown went out, Ottawa's offense was bloody horrible.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Armstead was able to get 103 yards rushing. Got himself
no, but I mean,
there.
Justin Crum came in and he only went 8 for 11.
He goes 8 for 11, which isn't the worst thing in the world. But he does throw one pick on just a little bit, throwing yards. No one over 45 yards receiving. It doesn't look good. Lewis Ward goes 3 for 3 on the plus side with the longest at 51 yards. Devontae Dedmon with an average of around, let me see here, an average of 21 yards for his kick returning, and an average of 8.2 yards for his punt returns. But if I'm looking in here, 12 tackles for Santos Knox, so a good game from him, as well as Lamont and Griffin. But right after then, there's a big drop-off. Wakefield is able to get a sack, but really nothing else defensively here for the Ottawa Redblacks. Now, if we're going to talk about a guy who's had a better game, Willie Jefferson! Fumble recovery. He gets it after he had blocked at least one pass, gets 2 tackles as well as a sack. Willie Jefferson needed this game. Willie Jefferson's been in a bit of a slump like the rest of the Bombers to start this year. And so glad to see Willie back. Again, we're talking about a top-tier defensive player in the league still. I still believe that. And so seeing him kind of back in full form in that aspect and being able to be very, very effective is very good. Devin Adams would grab himself a sack, as well as Kyrie Wilson would get one too. So some decent defensive play here. And I had been very, very critical of the Bombers' D-line. And so I was glad to see a lot more done by them in this most recent game. Is there anything else you want to say on the Ottawa side of things? Put up a fat donut in the second quarter there for Ottawa. Giving up 10 points, not ideal. Kind of hard to come back.
No, but I mean, when your starting quarterback goes down,
yep.
Dustin Crum comes in. Justin Hardy only had 3 for 5 for 43 yards. Jalen Acklin only had 3 for 6 for 41 yards. Armstead had 1 for 1 for 33, and then Addison had 7.
It's funny. When I heard Drew Brown went down, there were 2 things that went through my head. First of all, I hope Drew Brown's okay. That really, really sucks. And second of all, Dustin Crum has been a boogeyman against Winnipeg before. I remember that loss last year. Oh my goodness! And this is when the team was good. And this is when the team was good. We lost, and it was devastating. However, he's not able to get it done. 25-16 victory here for Winnipeg. If we go into the Saturday night game, we have the Montreal Alouettes defeat the Calgary Stampeders by a score of 30-26. Now, Rick, you're going to find this a little interesting. So you know that Pick'ems group that I'm in that I sometimes talk to you about and whatnot?
Yes.
Because I have my picks for every week. It was unanimously 15-0 Montreal in terms of everyone's picks this week. We almost were all wrong. Man, Calgary was really close to getting it done, but the Alouettes, if there's a will, there's a way. Rick, how do you feel about this one?
I mean, Montreal basically pulled off a Saskatchewan.
Yeah, basically, we were talking about
The
how
fourth quarter
Saskatchewan
comeback.
had kind of relied on that fourth quarter comeback, and I just didn't think that was sustainable. I still don't think it's
Because
sustainable.
when I was sitting there watching, I'm like, oh my God, is this going to be a miracle? Is this going to be the week that Montreal loses their first game of the season?
Mm-mm-mm. Well, I will
Mind
say,
you,
yeah,
it was nice to see for that split second some team actually beat Montreal.
like it was that vulnerability in that team. You're like, whoo, like,
Like
they are not invincible.
like to see them go 26 for what, 12, 17 at the end of like halftime. Just like, oh my God, like this is gonna actually happen. Like Montreal's gonna lose their first game at home. And I will say, I'm not trying to be pig-headed or anything like that, but God, please, Montreal fans, can we stop blowing those stupid horns?
Okay, no. Okay, no.
Hold on.
No, Rick, this is not shitting on Montreal fans. I'm absolutely in. Those horns are so annoying. I have had to listen to it on every broadcast. If you're a loud crowd, you don't need artificial crap. Make the noise yourself. Bring the horns. I'm fine with the horns you gotta blow into. There's effort. The ones that you're just like pushing into and you're not doing any of the work, like, get out of here. I'm sorry. I don't like those things.
I honestly turned off the volume while watching this game.
It's nauseating.
It is.
If you're going to be loud, just yell. Just be a loud crowd. And if you need to artificially pump noise in with a literal pump.
The reason why I bring that up is because Montreal is the only stadium you can use them in.
Yeah, no other building will allow it because they respect TSN and all their viewers. Montreal doesn't give a shit. I mean, they're winning, so you know what? Fair enough. But
I mean, like,
God, can you win in a less annoying way?
Even this way, okay. Calgary's top receiver, 59 yards on 7 carries. You go over to the Montreal side.
Yeah, 2 receivers over 100 yards.
My guy.
And then even
Fletcher had 160 all-purpose yards.
Yep. And I mean, even if it's funny, they had two receivers go over 100 yards, and receiving, the 2 guys that got the touchdown weren't either of those 2. So it really showed that even the guys that weren't getting, who weren't hitting those 100-yard milestones receiving, they were still being a very, very important contribution to this offense. I mean, Julian Grant, he's at the bottom of the receiving yards here. Only gets 20 on 4 carries, but he grabs himself a touchdown, so he gets some of the most important ones for him. Cody Fajardo, 35 for 42, really, really good. 374 yards, also really good. An average of 8.9 yards per completion. Good stuff there. 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, so kind of a perfect medium in that regard. Jake Maier, very similar with his 1-for-1. However, he would only throw 106 yards, which is weird because I forgot. I didn't know that Calgary rushed the ball. Apparently they do. Apparently, I see a lot of guys rushing the ball here for Calgary today. I'm surprised that Jake Maier didn't go like 30 for 49 or whatever the hell he normally goes.
Keep in mind, this was the first Philpott game. Jalen only had 11 yards this whole game for Calgary.
To be fair, that's on 2 rushes. That's on 2 rushes. So I'd argue that he actually, on his 2 rushes, he did well. But they didn't do anything else with him besides that. And this is, again, we were talking about, I think we were talking about the injury with Dedrick Mills before and how that will kind of affect Calgary. And we see that here. If we're looking on the defensive side of things for Calgary, looks like Robertson as well as Sanders with an interception for each of those. No sacks. And leading the team in tackles is Micah Alway with 9 tackles, followed by 6 for Dozier. So good job defensively for those 2. I believe actually Micah Alway broke some sort of a record. I'm trying to remember where there was. I think I saw the Stampeders post about it. Let's see here. Yes. That is 500 career defensive tackles for Micah Alway. So congratulations, Micah. Also, thanks for coming on the podcast. We really appreciate that. Is there anything else we want to say about this game, Rick? I think we've pretty much went all over it. It's just kind of crazy to think, though. 30-26 victory for Montreal. This game is 26-15 Calgary going into the fourth quarter. 15 points unscathed for the Alouettes here. Get it done, and Calgary is not able to hold on and grab a really big win. Unfortunately, for them, the Alouettes storm back and improve to a 5-0 record.
Carter's like, can we just get on to the bloody embarrassing game right now, please?
Which leaves us with the last game of the week. Oh boy, 44-28 BC Lions over the Hamilton Tiger Cats. Rick, go nuts.
We are sending out the search team to look for Hamilton's defense because they're literally missing right now.
Get the helicopter, get the big like fog lights.
Not only
did everybody get the Amber Alert on their phone for the missing defense on the Ticats?
Not only did they go down,
oh boy,
the first set of plays.
You guys went down. It's funny. I didn't watch this game, but like I check in like 6 minutes after kickoff, and I'm like, "What the hell?" Like with an F-bomb in there. What the hell? It's 14-0, and it's like not even 5 minutes into the game.
Hold on. Let me explain this.
Oh my god.
So, BC goes down. 4 plays, 70 yards, gets a touchdown.
Yep.
We go 2-0. BC goes down, scores another touchdown. We go another 2-0 again. You would not believe Nick Constantino got a standing ovation for when he got us the Rouge Point in the first quarter.
When you got the single.
When he got the single.
Jesus Christ.
He got a standing ovation.
Now, there's a few things I want to mention here. William Standback is all over the score sheet here. 82 yards rushing, 74 yards receiving. There was no William, please stand back. This was William, stand back. There's a hurricane coming through. And
actually, no. So hold on. So it was actually Adams to McInnes, Adams to Hollins, Adams to McInnes, Adams to Hollins, Adams to Standback. And then he'd go back to the original too. It's just like constantly back and forth, back and forth, back and forth.
Well, I mean, you can easily tell that that's exactly what happens. Justin McInnes, 10 receptions, 144 yards, 2 touchdowns. Holy crap, what a game for Justin McInnes. If we look at Hollins, 6 receptions for him, 116 yards, 1 touchdown for him. Whoa! We look at Standback. He gets 2 touchdowns, 1 rushing, 1 receiving. Good stuff all around. And Vernon Adams Jr., man, 26 for 36, 383 yards, 10.6 on average, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. It is the reverse Cameron Dukes.
Hold on. So then we got Bo Levi Mitchell, 32 for 48, 374 yards. So he's only down by 8 points. 3 touchdowns.
Yep.
7.8 yards average.
No interceptions.
James Butler, 9 for 11, 108 yards receiving, 1 touchdown.
Yep.
Shamar Bridges, 6 for 8, 87 yards. So I know it's still early, but my pick for Rookie of the Year from the East is going to be Shamar Bridges.
Shamar Bridges?
Tim White, I don't even know what the heck's going on with Tim White. 5 for 12. Like, don't even ask me. Then we got Keandre Smith, who got a penalty at the end of the game for being, I'm not going to say it, but I'll say it, a moron for a celebration. Luther Hakanu Navanu went 2 for 2 for 17 yards and a touchdown. Now, this is the game where we decided that we're going to make 10 changes on defense, or 10 changes all around. But at the same time, this was supposed to be the game that things were going to change because we brought in a new special teams coach. Devon Smoke Harris has a 63-yard return on special teams.
Yep.
But yet, our defense still doesn't know how to make a tackle.
Believe it or not, Rick, did you know that you are unlikely to win a football game when you give up 34 points in the first half of the game?
Did you know?
Oh, boy.
Did you know?
Brother, no one else gave up 34 points in the entire game for the whole week beforehand.
Hold on, listen.
Oh,
did you know?
But wait, there's more, Carter.
There is. Do you know that Vernon Adams and Bo Levi Mitchell are both on pace to get 60,000 yards, 40 touchdowns on the season, except for the difference is...
Whoa. What do you mean 60,000 yards? Not 60...
6,000 yards.
I was about to say 60,000 yards. Bullshit. Yes, 6,000.
Except for Vernon Adams is getting that. They say he's
Except Vernon Adams Jr. is winning games while doing it. Poor freaking Bo Levi Mitchell is playing out of his mind, but every game someone's crap in the bed and they're not able to get the win.
Yeah, well, until Mark Washington gets his walking papers, then freaking...
What is your response to those who are now putting even more... I will say the amount of people talking about Scott Milanovich has him. There are more people talking about him than there were before, Rick.
So there's actually, I don't know where you're getting that information because there's more people talking and want Washington canned.
Yep.
Than Milanovich because
I'm not saying that more people want Milanovich canned over Washington. I'm just saying a few Ticats fans I talked to who were a few of them that were vocal specifically about Milanovich being canned are now being a little more vocal. So I'm not, it's one of those things. I'm not saying the organization is considering shit. I'm asking you because I want your opinion as a Ticats fan.
The thing is, you can't fire Milanovich because then you got to find a head coach and an offensive coordinator, which you're not gonna find.
Yes, they come as the package.
If you
2-for-1 combo,
you have to fire Washington separately because you can get a defensive coordinator. Then trying to replace those.
Yep.
And for the love of God, can we please get rid of Curtis George Jr. or Kenneth George Jr., please?
And who is this?
This is our cornerback that can't protect or guard if his life depended on it.
I see.
I mean, yeah, he can make 5 defensive tackles. But he can't guard worth crap.
I see. Rick, is there anything else you have that you would like to say?
No, I just want this painful misery to end.
You just want to be able to get a week. Well, you guys are gonna have a bye week, so hopefully that's enough.
Yeah, so something big's gonna happen today.
So hopefully that.
Then we got Toronto, and then we got Edmonton. Then we got Montreal. So all hell is gonna fucking. Hopefully we don't go 0-8.
Well, only time will tell. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Make sure you guys like, share, and subscribe if you haven't already. This has been quite a journey this week. In this review, you have a very happy Bomber fan and a very not so happy Ticats fan who's still looking for that thing to smile about, but hopefully it comes to you eventually there, Rick.
That's okay.
I don't know how long this Bomber happiness lasts. Trust me.
I was just gonna say because you guys play Calgary and then you guys play Saskatchewan next, so it'll last for like a week.
we will have to see, my friend. We will have to see.
Oh, and by the way, Carter actually outdid me this week, and Carter went 3 for 1.
Yes,
in his predictions.
I did. How did you do?
I went 2 for 2.
So what is the updated predictions records?
So you are 12-7.
I think
And I am 12-7.
I was about to say, I think you're 12-7 too, because I know you're one ahead of me. So I think that brings us to even.
Because I was 11-5 going into last week, and you were. Sorry, you're 12-8.
12 how can I be 12-8 if you're 12-7?
Because you were 9-7 going into last week, and you went 3 for 1.
Yep.
And I'm 13-7.
I see.
Because I went 2-2. So I'm 13-7, and you're 12-8.
I see. Is there anything else we got, Rick?
Nope.
All right. Well, again, make sure you guys like, share, and subscribe if you haven't already. Peace, love, and positivity, all of you guys. Make sure you guys tune in for our Week 6 preview when that comes out. We'll see you guys next time.